Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
I don't hesitate to go on Fox News quite often. Because how can I blame somebody for not hearing our message or our view if they've literally not encountered it? Which means I have a responsibility to make sure it gets through to those viewers. And that's why we do those town halls. So the more we act to make sure that we're in a common reality, the more we can see the humanity in one another.
I like Pete Buttigieg, right? I think he's a good dude. And he's so right. As New Hampshire goes throughout the day into the evening and does all this stuff, tomorrow we'll have the final results. Let's be real. After Iowa, I think everybody's going to take a deep breath and get it right. But he's absolutely right. 110% right. We've lost the commonality in one another. We don't see each other as anything other than enemies anymore, and that's totally ridiculous. It is. And that's, here's the thing. Right now, there's a cult of Trump and there's a cult of Bernie. You see it with the Bernie bros everywhere. Last night, Trump, where is he? New Hampshire. Why? Because New Hampshire's today. Why not be there? Fills an auditorium and does what Trump does.
On Tuesday, I delivered my address on the State of the Union, and I had somebody behind me who was mumbling terribly. Mumbling. Wah, wah, ho, ha. He was mumbling. Very distracting. That was very distracting. I'm speaking and a woman is mumbling terribly behind me, angry. There was a little anger back there. We're the ones should be angry.
Lock her up. That's the new thing. Lock her up. Lock her up. Lock her up. That's got to find the enemy now. That's what you have to do in life. You have to find who's the enemy. Who's my enemy? Who can I blame all of my problems on? The funny thing is, as much as Trump, everybody says Trump wants to blame everything on black and brown people and that he's a xenophobe and he's evil and stuff. I just sit there and laugh because the other side blames everything on Trump and billionaires and millionaires. Well, it's different, though, because we can blame that on people who have money. So it's okay to make them the evil enemy. It's a commonality. I'm just curious in life. Where's your commonality anymore? We were talking before we went on today, and I like this kind of stuff. Where's the commonality? I was telling, we were talking about when we went to the RNC in Cleveland, those many years ago, and we booked on Airbnb. We had no idea where we were, right? So we book on Airbnb, and we go there, and it's a predominantly black neighborhood, right? So we're imagine this, 3 white dudes in a FBI looking like car pulling into a neighborhood. We're taking all of this equipment out in these giant black, like hard boxes and silver boxes. So we totally look like feds. But Anthony, I get there. And, like the next day, I'm like, dude, let's go for a walk around the neighborhood. So Anthony and I took this long walk, and we're walking by. There's a bunch of kids playing football, right? And I'm like, pass me the ball. One of them passed me the ball. We spent like an hour there with them, and I was quarterback for both teams. We found commonality. We're having a good time. People are out laughing. Where's the commonality anymore? Where is it? I think it's out there. But can anybody actually do enough to unite? Look, you're never going to get the 10 or 15% that are on the extremes to ever buy into commonality because they live in a hermetically sealed bubble of which they're afraid to leave, of which anytime you ask them a question or challenge them in any way, shape, or form about anything, they will come at you. They're either unwoke or overwoke. But the 80% of us, we've got commonality, and we know that. We go to work every day. Our kids go to the same school. We do a lot of things that are very similar, right? They play on the same teams. We root for the same teams. We go to the same church, temple, or synagogue. We are what? We have common ground. But I look around last night and over the last 48 hours, and I'm thinking to myself, where's that common ground in politics? You're potentially going to have 2 extremes running against each other. And those will be the choices come November. Is Trump uber extreme? I don't think he really is, but his talk is. Is Bernie uber extreme? I think given his druthers and the opportunity to do what he would like to do, hell yeah. 100%. So it'll be interesting to see the way that this thing plays itself out. Here's something that you guys should think about throughout the day and the evening. Since 1972. 1972. If you don't finish first or second in New Hampshire, you don't get the nomination. How does that bode for Elizabeth Warren? It doesn't. She's third, and that's going to be her high point. I don't think Buttigieg and Sanders are going to finish first and second. How that looks, I think it's going to be Bernie's, followed by Buttigieg, and I think Bernie's going to do better than people think here. And then on the other side, down the roll, you've got Biden and Klobuchar. Klobuchar may finish fourth. Biden may finish fifth. Think about that. Fifth. He was, that's it. You look at the polls. Quinnipiac came out yesterday. He's now in second nationwide. Bernie is picked up steam. Bernie is pulling away. He had 7,500 people last night at his rally. 7,500 people in little old New Hampshire, right? And with Trump's rally, that may have been everybody in the state in two places. Now, it's not going to be like this always. He's going to get out. He's going to go to South Carolina. He won't have the same kind of oomph. Nevada, he may. I think he's going to win Nevada, too. I think he's going to go 2 for 3 heading into South Carolina. And I see just vote after vote being peeled away. Just peeled away. Bernie's coming hard. And I don't think anybody's going to stop him, at least today. It is going to be one of those situations where I have a feeling that unless Bloomberg does something, we'll touch on him, by the way, in just a little bit, because he's got his first real controversy that's non-controversy. And I think a lot of it's coming from the Bernie bros. And the second thing is he is making enough noise. But right now, it is Bernie with all the momentum. That lull last week because of the chaos and confusion of Iowa has essentially disappeared, and now it's momentum Bernie.
I think Bernie Sanders is in the catbird seat right now. Obviously, if he were to not win New Hampshire, that's a blow, but he's got the durability financially. He's known across the country. We know to go the distance.
Yeah. To go in the distance for sure. Klobuchar, not so much. But everybody's looking at Super Tuesday. And he's going to win California, which is the prize.
So right now, I think Bernie Sanders is in the most advantaged position as we look out towards particularly Super Tuesday.
Yeah, that's been Bloomberg's big thing. Super Tuesday's my thing. I'm coming for Super Tuesday. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to peel away enough. And I think it's he's not focusing on Buttigieg. He's going after Biden a little bit because I think he saw Biden as the rival. But there's definitely an issue with Bloomberg. And it's a frustration there because he knows Bloomberg's making noise. By the way, and is it Dixville, which is how they start the primaries off in New Hampshire always. And they had to have 5 registered voters, and they got him, and the 5 voters voted, and 3 of them voted for Bloomberg. So he got his first little itty-bitty win in a state that he's not even trying to do anything in.
Bloomberg, anybody else in America has the right to run for president. But I think in a democracy, you do not have the right to buy the presidency. And it really is absurd that we have a guy who's prepared to spend already many hundreds of millions of dollars on TV ads. Meanwhile, he did not do what all of the other Democratic candidates do. He wasn't holding town meetings in Iowa or New Hampshire, Nevada, or South Carolina. Those were not important enough for him. He could simply buy the election with hundreds of millions of dollars of ads. That is wrong.
Well, why is it wrong? You're buying it in a lot of different ways, right? You're just asking other people to pay for your ads and commercials and all of the other stuff. He's paying for it for himself. I give it to him. He feels strongly enough about this that he thinks he's got to go out and get involved and to spend his own money. I got zero problems with that. The mindset of money is huge, and the way that people look at money is huge. It's crazy. Again, demonization, right? Trump demonizes supposedly everybody, people of color and everybody else, you know, that xenophobe, and he's all of these things, and he's a racist, and he's a horrible person. But Bernie on the other side demonizes anybody who's been successful, demonizes wealth, demonizes anybody who doesn't believe in the ideas that he believes in as bad people. Find the commonality. That's why I like somebody like Bloomberg. That's why I like somebody like Pete Buttigieg, right? There's commonality that they can look for, and they're not afraid to go to places that other people won't go. I like it. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. You can text the program as well. Can you believe how close Valentine's Day is? You're like, oh, yeah, I forgot all about that. Don't be that person, please. Right? Because you know it and I know it. We all are in this situation where we forget more than a few times, and you think about it that day, and you're like, oh, gosh. So what do you do? Well, it's simple. It's easy. 1-800-FLOWERS. That's what you do. It's in full force Valentine's Day, 3 days away. How about this? A rose bouquet that's guaranteed to impress. Why not order it today? 1-800-FLOWERS. Today only. 18 red roses, $29.99. Or upgrade to 24 stem colorful rose medley plus a vase for only $5 more. You pick the delivery date. They deliver it to whoever it is that you want to deliver to, your wife, your girlfriend, both. Don't know, right? Not here to judge. Just here to save the day for you. 1-800-FLOWERS is there for you. So 18 roses for $29.99 or an upgrade to 24 stem colorful rose medley plus a vase for $5 more. Picked at their peak, shipped overnight to ensure freshness. Now's your chance. Win the day with your Rose Authority, 1-800-FLOWERS.com. So to order the 18 rose for $29.99 or upgrade to 24 stem rose medley plus a vase for $5 more, go to 1-800-FLOWERS.com. Click on the radio icon, enter code Benson. That's 1-800-FLOWERS.com, code Benson. Hurry, though. This offer ends today. Chad Benson Show.
Take a fake news break. Check out the really important news of the day at our website, ChadBensonShow.com. Once there, click on Chad's free podcast and get real. The Chad Benson Show, where truth and the American way live. Print free.
Chilling images coming out of Chinese social media. Teams of people in hazmat suits seen dragging a panicked family from their apartment after they reportedly refused to self-quarantine. And this self-described citizen journalist defying the Chinese government to report on the shortages of masks and protective clothing now hasn't been seen or heard from in days. The 34-year-old man had already expressed anxiety over both the virus and the government's ability to silence dissent.
Yeah, that's real. People wonder about the mask. So I was with Jack this past weekend. So my son Jack's 9. For those of you new to the show, is down in San Diego. We have our fun weekends every other weekend, and he spends a lot of time here. But where he lives is has a very large Chinese population. And he and I went to the store to get something, and there was a lot of Chinese nationals in there. I'm assuming they were Chinese nationals. They were speaking Chinese, but they also were all wearing masks. And the question for a lot of people, because the masks, they're running out, are they even any good? Do they work? Because I've heard that because of this virus and the size of it, that the effectiveness is not really good.
Demand for paper masks has been so strong that some retailers are limiting them to one per customer. But if you think that the mask will keep you from catching coronavirus or any other contagious disease, you might be wasting your money.
The mask usually should be worn by the person who would be having some type of discharge from their nose or mouth.
Bill Call of the Austin Health Department says that people who actually have coronavirus aren't likely to be out in public anyway.
Yeah. So that's good. Sales have gone through the roof. And it's an interesting thing to watch, because I've been saying since this thing started, I don't believe a word that China's saying. Wuhan is a big city, right? Wuhan is a massive city. To put it into perspective, think Los Angeles, New York. It's about 11 plus million people. And then when you get into the outskirts of it, you put everybody together, you're looking at right around 18 million people. It is empty. Could you imagine that today? Like, you ever watch those commercials where somebody's driving a car? Like down, LA city block or New York, and that's all green screen. That's not real, or they've cordoned it off. Could you imagine though that's what it's like everywhere? It looks like a movie set. This dystopian bizarreness of nobody's around. It's scary. I don't believe what they're saying. I don't believe what they're putting out there. I think it's far worse than they're letting on to be. But will it affect us? I think that's the big question. What will it do for us? People that I've heard that have had it, one was on a ship the other day talking about it, says, it's not too bad. Colds are worse. I don't know how real that is or not, but should we worry?
When we see governments take preemptive steps like quarantine, isolation, travel restrictions, we have to be clear that is to safeguard public health, and it can be incredibly important. It's one of the key steps in managing an outbreak that they go identify, isolate, then diagnose and treat.
But we're expecting China to deliver everybody the news. And you've got to think about this. Don't think about this in a human toll that they're embarrassed. You have to think about this in an economic toll. The trade war or battle with China has really hurt them. They have gone to the point where they're not getting 10% growth. They're getting 5.5%, 6%. This, they expect to knock it down even further. If this was to become the epidemic that some people say it could become, what it could do to them financially is insane. So they're thinking not in human toll, but in dollars and cents, pounds and euros. See where I'm going with that. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. You can text the program as well. It's New Hampshire primary day. It's the Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
He was saying, do you think we should have a socialist leading the ticket? And I said correctly, I am friends with Bernie. We came into the Senate together, but I don't think we want a socialist leading the ticket, no. And I was literally the only one that raised my hand and said that. I think I watched, everyone was looking around to see if who was going to raise their hands. I'm like, seriously?
Yeah. No. Amy's making some moves. I'm going to say this. I don't think she has it nationwide, but don't be surprised if she ends up on the ticket. Right? Don't be surprised if she ends up somewhere on the... She could be vice president. Well, she could be president. She could be, but she's not going to win. I mean, she's not even... Remember, she's made really good strides, but her best efforts are putting her in fourth. That's, we'll see what happens after you get out of here and you move to Nevada and you move to South Carolina, where she ends up. But no. We're talking off the air. So somebody can unite us. Here's the person who unites us in the best way possible. Is the person who's not radical, just is, to be honest, kind of boring. Not really controversial. Not reality television. Doesn't evoke a lot of emotion from the right or left. Because what ends up happening is you just kind of get into your day to day and, you got to, it's a policy wonk. Now, I don't know if that person could be president. I just don't know. Because you have to have a giant online crazy group of people that's going to go out and do stuff for you. You have to have a slogan. You have to be willing to say things. You have to be willing to demonize others. That's the reality of it. Yesterday, I'm sitting there and I'm seeing Chuck Todd is trending. I'm like, is he okay? Something happened to Chuck Todd? Nice guy. Been on his show several occasions. And he's done stuff with me on Fridays here and there. And as far as doing radio and stuff together, good dude. Good dude. And I'm like, well, what happened? Well, of course he's in trouble. Why? Because he read something that somebody else wrote. We'll get to that in a second. But he and Andrea Mitchell were talking yesterday about the perfect example of having that kind of absolute crazed base that is energized and activated and just willing to go for it.
Bernie Sanders has a huge advantage in New Hampshire, which he did so well in 60% 4 years ago. And he's still local. They're enthusiastic, and they will not be denied. And that's the other problem going forward. There is going to be a huge resentment if some huge pool of money goes elsewhere, if Bloomberg makes a move, if Biden collapses, if there's a Stop Bernie movement. That is going to be to hell will pay with the Bernie people because they are so committed.
Yeah, to hell. Absolute to hell will pay. You will pay a price. And that's what happened. So yesterday, it's trending all over. Fire Chuck Todd. Fire Chuck Todd. Why? What did Chuck Todd do? Right? And then I look and say, oh, he's pissed off the Bernie folk.
Hey, I want to bring up something that Jonathan last put in the bulwark today. And Ruth, we've all been on the receiving end of the Bernie online brigade. And here's what he says. He says, no other candidate has anything like this sort of digital brown shirt brigade. I mean, except for Donald Trump. The question no one is asking is this. What if you can't win the presidency without an online mob? What if we now live in a world where having a bullying agro-social media army running around, popping anyone who sticks their head up is either an important ingredient for or a critical marker of success?
Wow.
Yes. He read something that somebody else wrote. He read something that he didn't write it. He just read it. And that's all you need. You just need to read it. And for them to turn on you and to come hard. One of the reasons that Trump is able to say the things he says and get away with it is because he has his own online group that will battle hard. He has his own online group that comes hard for him and protects him. You need that in this day and age. You need that. Is that insane? Fire Chuck Todd over what?
Where Pete Buttigieg was talking about how you can't always have a revolution, and the Bernie supporters there who had great flashing purple signs started chanting Wall Street Pete, Wall Street Pete. This is the makings of an ugly primary season coming ahead of us, and the makings of a potentially really ugly general election campaign.
Yeah, and by the way, to let you guys know, even if you agree with Bernie and they don't like you, they will come for you. So think about that for a second. Even if you agree with Bernie, case in point, a couple weeks ago, Joe Rogan, he endorsed Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders people see Joe Rogan as a alt-right person because he's for free thought, right? He's for free thought. And the reason I like Bernie, he goes, because I felt he's the most genuine person, right? Finds that some of his stuff is crazy, but he's the most genuine person that's out there. That's the reality of what we're dealing with today. Bernie bros are real. They'll come hard for you. They'll tear you apart. It's scary, but so true. In fact, over the weekend, joking around, SNL.
I don't know how or why it happened, but I am king of an army of internet trolls called Bernie Bros. Could I stop them in their tracks? Of course. Should I? Yes. Will I?
So real. It's so real. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. What people are really talking about, right? What people are really talking about aren't this crazy lunacy that's out there. They're talking about real things. Like, hey, medical debt is ridiculous. Hey, how do you get the medical world and the healthcare world under some control as far as spending? How do we deregulate in some areas, do the right thing in other areas without taking away our opportunity to control our healthcare and where we're allowed to spend our dollars, and at the same time get it under control? And Bernie's preaching this, and everybody, oh, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do this. When you hear a story like this, I'm like, I get why people feel this way. Here's a couple in Kansas. So there are a couple in Kansas dealing with serious issues that they have. And you hear stuff like this, you go, I get why Bernie is going where he's going, and I get why people are behind him.
Tress and Heather Biggs' son Lane was diagnosed with leukemia when he was 5 years old. At the same time, Heather suffered seizures from Lyme disease.
We had so many multiple health issues in our family at the same time. It put us in a bracket that made insurance unattainable. It would have made no sense. We would have had to have not eaten and not had a home.
Biggs was working 2 jobs, but they fell behind on their bills. Then the unthinkable happened.
You wouldn't think you'd go to jail over a medical bill.
Medical bill jail. Medical bill jail.
Tress Biggs went to jail for failing to appear in court over unpaid medical bills. What was that like?
Scary, scared to death. I'm a country kid. I had to strip down and get hosed and put a jumpsuit on.
Bail was $500. Mm-hmm. How much money did you have at that time?
Like maybe 50 to 100.
50 to 100 bucks. He didn't show up. Opportunities, they sent him stuff. He didn't show up, so they came after him and they got him, right? Like a bench warrant. How did this come to be? I mean, think about this, right? This is debtor's prison. This is like archaic stuff.
Attorneys like Michael Hassenplug have built successful businesses representing medical providers to collect debt owed by their neighbors.
I'm just doing my job. They want the money collected, and I'm trying to do my job as best I can by following the law.
That law was put in place at Hassenplug's own recommendation to the local judge. The attorney uses that law by asking the court to direct people with unpaid medical bills to appear in court every 3 months and state they are too poor to pay in what is called a debtor's exam.
A debtor's exam. You got to show up. This is the guy who put it in place. This right here is what people go, oh. I've been saying all along that, and I've talked to several Congress people, and they're like, that's a really good idea. That's an interesting idea. I'm like, why is it so hard? Because there's so many people who have skin in the game, right? They're giving money to this politician or that politician. It happens on both sides of the aisle. This is the stuff that drives people crazy. I've been saying, hey, you know what? Instead of, single payer or Medicare for all, you handle your own insurance. But when you get into a situation where it's a medical absolute emergency, heart attack, cancer, then guess what? The government comes in and takes over at that point in time. Right? Okay. That can be done. That's not hard. Secondly, there should be a different way that they look at medical debt when it comes to your credit. Now, that's debt that is ridiculous, right? Like if you failed to pay a $50 copay, you're an idiot, right? You're an idiot at that point in time. But at some point in time, you look at this and you're saying to yourself, this is the kind of stuff that Bernie's talking about that resonates with a lot of people.
And how do you get paid?
I get paid on what's collected.
From the bail money?
Well, if the bail money is applied to the judgment, yes, I get a portion of that.
Are you sending them to jail for collection then and not contempt?
No, we're sending them to jail for contempt of court for failure to appear.
Yeah, failure to appear. This is ridiculous.
This raises serious constitutional concerns. Nusrat Chaudhry is a deputy director at the ACLU.
What's happening here is a jailhouse shakedown for cash.
Tens of thousands of these warrants are issued annually, sometimes to collect as little as $28.
I mean, it wasn't like we were just not paying any of our medical bills. That was the problem. We couldn't afford to pay all of them.
Is jail the answer?
No.
No, it's not. This is why he resonates. It sounds great. And again, it's going to be tough to get through all the stuff, and I don't think Bernie's going to be able to pass a lot of this because there's a lot of people on the Democratic side who don't want what Bernie's offering. But this is the stuff right here that gets people energized for Bernie when they hear stories like that. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show. It's your Twitter. Raycons, love my Raycons. Last night, just chilling, watching a little bit of my Amazon, right? Amazon Prime. Relaxing a little bit. Had my Raycons in. Rain was pouring outside. Couldn't tell because I had my Raycons in. I got the E25s. This is what's great about them. 6 hours of playtime. Bluetooth pairing. The minute I turn on, boom, paired right away. More bass, compact design, great for noise isolating fit. So whether I'm rocking out, relaxing, or taking phone calls, work amazingly. Half the price of all these other competitors out there who are more about style than sound quality. The great thing with Raycon is better sound quality, better style, no stems, no wires dangling about, none of that stuff. You will love these. You're going to become obsessed with them like Cardi B, J.R. Smith, Snoop Dogg. They love them. You'll love them. 15% off right now on top of everything else. How do you do it? Simple. Go to buyraycon.com/Chad. That's buyraycon.com/Chad. Buyraycon.com/Chad. Chad Benson Show.
If you're part of the politically exhausted majority, don't fear. Your time to be validated and rejuvenated is here. Wake up. It's the Chad Benson Show.
Samsung is gearing up for its annual Keynote Unpacked event, rolling out the latest smartphones and gadgets. The flagship Galaxy S will be the star. Dana Woolman is with Engadget.
The rumor mill, at least, seems to point toward a new name, which would be the Galaxy S20, maybe the S20 Plus for a larger model.
But another phone is getting some buzz, an updated flip phone. The device will feature a screen on top and the keypad on the lower part.
What we're hearing, at least, and obviously this is all subject to change or be not true, is that the foldable phone will be called the Galaxy Z Flip.
Woolman says the revamped Galaxy Z isn't like the previous fold phone, which, in a word, flopped. No word yet on the price.
Yeah, probably about $1,500. It'll be interesting to see what they roll out, right? They're always trying to do something. They want to give you more and yet less. And that's interesting. And you know what else? Like last night I was watching Major League Baseball. Tomorrow across the country, your baseball teams, pitchers and catchers will be reporting. And, you know, this is it. Spring training's here. Football's gone. Spring training's here. You've got all this stuff going on. And there was a commercial on for Major League Baseball. And one of the, like, you know, they always put up like the television, like you can watch it on. And it was a TV and then it was a smartphone. Because so many kids, all the millennials around here, they watch so much stuff on their smartphone. They don't like I don't even have a TV at home. I watch everything on my smartphone. They're filming things for the smartphone. I think what Samsung's trying to do is give you the opportunity to have a smartphone, but then try to give you the opportunity to have something a little bigger, especially if that's where your entertainment is going to be viewed, so you don't go blind. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at us. Speaking of training, the fact that they're still talking about the MAX pilots and what they're going to do with this airplane, it just still boggles my mind because are you guys really going to do this?
The Transportation Department's Office of Inspector General says it'll evaluate U.S. and international standards for pilot training after 2 crashes involving the grounded Boeing 737 MAX. The review will look at the role of automation. 2 flights crashed last year after an automated anti-stall system misfired, pushing the noses of the planes down. Investigators say the pilots' responses contributed to the crash, raising questions about their training. Inspector General is already reviewing the FAA's process for certifying the 737 MAX.
Yeah. It's a lost decade. Boeing's got a long way to go. They're getting their butts kicked by Airbus. At some point in time, do you if I'm them and I want to keep this thing and I think it's the best thing out there and that it was bad training or they didn't order all of the stuff, because that was some of the other things I complained about, is that you get an airplane a la carte, right? So it's just like buying a car. So you order this, you're going to get, okay, how many seats do you want? Right? What kind of operating system? And you've got to order everything. It's just like when you watch a commercial for a car and it says, you go, oh, I want that car. And starting at $22,000, this model was $47,300. It's the same thing. And that's one of the things that people are, because everybody thinks you buy the plane, it comes the way it is. It's not. It comes in, basically you get the engines, the cockpit, and then you can choose everything that goes with it. So if I'm them, I figure out a way to rename this thing, get the training that's the right way, and if I'm going to sell it overseas, everybody's training here for a long time before they fly this thing. 323-538-2423, at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. I did not do the broom challenge, and if you haven't seen it, just check it out. People apparently yesterday thought NASA had said something about the moon and Earth's gravity, and you could stand a broom up, and a lot of people did it. NASA says no, and you can always do that with your broom. 323-538-2423. It's the Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Every day in this campaign, I feel like we get just a little bit closer to making the changes we need to make in this country. And when somebody says, I voted for you, then, wow, that's like a real concrete step.
That's like a real concrete step. She's all over the state of New Hampshire. Elizabeth Warren. They're all over. They made their final pitches yesterday. They're making some pitches today, but the reality is this is it. This is real. It's real. It is real now. Right? Like, I think last week we could put behind the nightmare that was Iowa, that's still not completely done, and say, all right, so now what? We'll know the final results late tonight, early tomorrow. They'll probably check them, double check them, triple check them after the nightmare, and then we can, dust everything off tomorrow for real and look at it. But the reality is, looks like it's Bernie's, right? This is Bernie's to win. It's there for him. He was out doing his thing last night, as he tends to do. Lots of people, 7,500 people showed up to watch him. I think he's going to win this in a walkaway. I think Buttigieg is going to come in second, Warren third. Then I think it's a toss-up for fourth or fifth. But since 1972, if you don't come in first or second here, you don't get the nomination. Think about that.
Now, people say, Medicare for all is going to be so disruptive. It's such a radical idea. Oh, my goodness. Actually, it is the least disruptive approach to moving toward universal health care.
It's the least disruptive. Look, say what you want about Bernie. His message is pretty simple. I'm going to do everything I possibly can for you. I'm going to give you everything that I possibly can. I'm going to take away any of your worries. We're going to make everything free. We're wiping it all out. We're going to give you a do-over. And if you screw up again, we'll continue to give a do-over because OPM, others people's money, will cover it, apparently.
12 years ago, the United States Congress, against my vote, bailed out the crooks on Wall Street who nearly destroyed our economy. 2 years ago, Trump and his friends gave $1 trillion in tax breaks to the 1% in large, profitable corporations, such that companies like Amazon, which made over $10 billion last year, did not pay one nickel in federal income tax. If we can bail out Wall Street and give tax breaks to billionaires, we can cancel all student debt in this country.
You know what I love is he never talks about the bailing out of the automobile companies. Why is that? Well, because they're all union workers, right? They bailed out. You go look at the banks, they paid the money back. You look at what took place with the bailout in the car industry, and we took a loss. Secondly, I look at everybody was culpable. The banks were absolutely culpable. I wouldn't have bailed them out. I would have let it collapse. Let the banks that were strong survive. And go from there. But I also wouldn't be in the business of guaranteeing loans to kids. Right? Who at 18, if a kid came to you at 18 and says, Mom, Dad, I'm going to take out $200,000 loan. I'm going to buy a Lamborghini Huracan or a brand new Ferrari. You'd be like, no, you're not. You're an idiot. Don't even know. But they do that. And then the government says, well, we'll guarantee that. It's ridiculous. It is. Well, Chad, they're going to get something. Are they going to get anything out of it? Right? What are they getting out of it? Your degree, what's it really worth? You know, when they look and say, well, people who earn degrees go off, they earn X amount of dollars. Yeah, that's because a lot of people with degrees, they just make good choices in their life. They just make better choices. If they had that degree or didn't have that degree and they made good choices, guess what? They'd still be fine. Getting rid of debt? How about some personal responsibility? And that goes from the parents to the kids to the schools to our government guaranteeing certain things. We shouldn't have been in the situation with the banks. We should never have been in those situations. We also shouldn't have let people with crappy credit, unstated incomes, buy houses that they couldn't afford. But we did. And everybody had a part to play in that. Man, I had friends who were they were going into a home, getting like 110%, 120% of the value. They were getting money to move into a house that they knew they couldn't afford in the hopes that it would become an ATM machine for them. That prices would continue to go up and that they would either be able to sell their house and make some money and go elsewhere. It was crazy. It was a free-for-all. And the banks were culpable? Absolutely. A lot of people were very culpable as well because they knew they couldn't afford certain things and they still did it. Everybody had a part to play. But the thought of just saying, hey, we're going to get rid of your debt? Come on now. Who's paying for these things? Why does nobody press him? Why does nobody really push him on these things? And I'm not talking about, okay, tell me how it actually works. Point it out to me. Now, when you tell me it does this, this, and this because everything's got to go the exact right way, what happens when in reality it's way too expensive? What happens in reality that you realize that your free health care isn't free and that the money that you thought you were going to get isn't going to be there the way you thought it was going to be there, and you have to go to everybody else and raise their taxes, and you keep telling them, don't worry, you don't have a deductible. Great. What happens then? Curious. What happens then? You want to be like Sweden? You love Sweden? Go to Sweden. If that's what you feel. I'm with him, though, and some of the things that we've done here in the medical world are ridiculous. These are what people are talking about, and Bernie's talking about it. But he's also promising things he cannot deliver. He's not going to deliver this. It just isn't going to happen. And not because the Republicans are going to stand in the way. You're going to find too many Democrats, I think, you'd be surprised about standing in the way as well. What happens if? It's always been my big question with him. So what happens if you go after all the people that are investing in Wall Street? They decide to take their money elsewhere. They're going to put it in Hong Kong. They're going to put it in the FTSE. They're going to go around the world and they're going to divest here and diversify across the globe. They'll keep some here, but move a lot of the other stuff. What happens if the market slows down? Or what happens if the market stalls and then starts to go in reverse? And your 401k goes from this to this, right? What happens to those tax revenues that you want aren't there? And people aren't going to invest in this country or start the businesses the way that you think they should start. What happens then? I'm curious. What happens when all of the stuff that you think is going to go to plan because it has to be perfect for it to work, because that's the way government draws it up. If all of these things work, this is what we'll do. And as we know, the first time you get out there, boom, it goes sideways. What happens then? And before we even get to all of that stuff, what happens when you go to pass any of these things and you talk about, to the Congress and you say, we want to do this, 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 and this, and you guys go pass a bunch of them and you don't have the Senate and it dies a horrible death on Mitch McConnell's desk? Or what happens when you think you have enough and then Nancy Pelosi says, you don't have anywhere near enough because there's too many Democrats that are feeding off the lobbyists here. They're going to allow that to happen for you to get through. I'm curious. I think it's fair to ask these questions. It's not being rude. I mean, you got to watch out, right? Because Bernie's people will come after. But those are fair questions. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. Love hearing from you. See how Biden does. Still, people are talking about the craziness over the weekend. I don't get it. He is struggling. He is going nowhere. He's going to finish fourth or fifth. And I think he thought, I'm going to win Iowa. I'll finish fourth or fifth. Not a big deal in New Hampshire. I always expected to kind of come down, but then my momentum will be big and it'll carry me through. You've got a caucus in Nevada. You're not going to win. You're just absolutely just bleeding support everywhere, including the black support, which seems to be heading to Mike Bloomberg. And you're still out there, you say just the most inane stuff.
A lot of what he's saying seems to be really pathos-based and very sad. We have heard a lot about deaths and cancer and people losing their jobs. And to me, he doesn't really seem very solution-oriented. And I don't think he has the momentum to carry this to a national election.
Yeah, that right there was the woman who he called a lying dog-faced pony soldier. Or whatever. I don't even get it, right? He's talking about stuff for like the No Malarkey Tour. The No Malarkey Tour. Yeah, it's the No Malarkey Tour. Like, what year is this? Right? Oh, dag nabbit. I mean, he is completely out of touch. Case in point.
Do you agree with that if Bernie Sanders is the nominee, Democrats will lose?
I refuse to suggest any Democrat can lose. I think, we could run Mickey Mouse against this president and have a shot.
Wow.
You're out of touch. You're out of touch. You are. You're absolutely out of touch. Well, hold on. Settle down, Mickey. I'm just saying, Mickey, I could win. I beat these bozos. They're awful. I beat them all. I'm a capitalist, got a big houses everywhere, uber successful. I did, $22 billion last year. Yeah, I'm loaded, baby. Mickey for president. He's out of touch. A lot of them are. But she said he's depressing. He is. They're all depressing. You listen to him, right? Like, the one thing about Buttigieg is, while he's very analytical, and I think he's very sterile, and he's very plain, even though he's a great speaker, an orator, a debater, he's brilliant. You listen to the guy and he doesn't evoke any kind of emotion. That's what Bernie does. But they're all doom and gloom. Why? Because you have to be. Remember, it's much easier to sell the other side of the coin is awful than my ideas are better, especially if the other side of the coin has a booming economy. That's a tough thing to sell against. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. Car Shield. So I got a new car. Love it. And I still have my other car. Car Shield on both of them. Why? Well, I like to protect my car. My car right now, a little bit more modern, right? Very, very much more modern. My other car, which I drive a lot and will continue to do so, not as modern. Doesn't have any of the gizmos and gadgets, right? They don't have a screen on it, navigation. But I have the stuff I need to protect the car in the case of what if, because I do like driving my car around, and I will continue so. My newer car, it has gizmos and gadgets. Car Shield covers both of them. It's great. They got affordable protection plans starting as low as $99 a month. You just call them up. 800-CAR-6000. Say, this is what I have. This is what I want to protect. They'll get you the plan that's right, that fits your budget. You get 24/7 roadside assistance, a rental car for free while your car's in the shop, and the shop is the shop that you choose, right? You pay a small deductible, they get them paid directly. It's that simple. Million customers. That's what they've helped so far. They're ready to help you. Again, rates as low as $99 a month. You've got nothing to lose. Call them today, 800-CAR-6000. Mention code Benson. Tell them what you're looking for, and they'll get you sorted out. 800-CAR-6000, code Benson, or visit carshield.com. Use code Benson. When you do that, you save 10% right there. Carshield.com, code Benson. A deductible may apply. Chad Benson Show.
Don't let the Washington Beltway strangle you. This is where the exhausted majority comes to refuel, realign, and reevaluate. This is Chad Benson.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, ignition, liftoff.
Now it's time to find out what's trending. What's trending? Yeah, what does that mean? I mean something, right? Like it's trending on the old internet. What's trending? Trending? What do you think's trending? Stuff. Lots of stuff. Again, Google, very much a different kind of trend compared to Twitter. Twitter is very political. The broom standing up challenge trended all day yesterday. 2 million. 2 million searches. Right now, Dixville Notch in New Hampshire, trending big time. Sprint stock, because the merger with Tmobile was approved. That's on Google. New Hampshire primary, Rage Against the Machine. They're doing a full tour, reunion world tour. Westminster Dog Show. All trending. You can go over here to Twitter, though. Twitter is nothing but political today. Minus the broomstick challenge, which I have not tried, but I've seen a lot of people have. And you can do it any day. It didn't just happen to me yesterday. NASA never came out and said, oh, hey, we're NASA, and because of the moon and the gravitational pull, you can now put your broom in. No, they never said that. Like, we didn't say that. You can do it whenever you want. New Hampshire, Dixville Notch. They're like, what is that? Is that like a punk band? They're not. Small little hamlet, if you will, that starts off the New Hampshire voting. There's 5 people that vote, and 3 of those votes went to Bloomberg. No, coronavirus, stop and frisk. We'll touch on that in a second. Roger Stone, prosecutors coming hard for him. Big time. We've had him on our show a few times. Bloomberg is a racist. Again, we'll touch on that. My Space Force job. I don't know what I'd want to be in Space Force. Right? I don't know what I'd want to be. If like somebody came and said, okay, well, you can be anything you want in Space Force. I'm like, well, that's a good question. I don't know. Like, I watched Starship Troopers, and that was cool. And I think it would be like that. I don't know if we'd be fighting bugs. If you've never seen Starship Troopers, it's very interesting. Casper Van Diem, Doogie, I always forget his name, Neil Patrick Harris, he was in it. It's a very interesting, and it feels very Space Force-y, but they fought bugs. So what would be my Space Force gig? That is interesting. I'm just trying to think what I'd want to do in Space Force. Probably, you know, do you want to be in the science side? You want to pilot a ship? A lot of different things, right? You want to be a salvager? It's not really what it is. I know, but we're dreaming here, kids. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. You can text the program. Check out the Instagram as well. Talk about Michael Bloomberg, trending everywhere. Stop and frisk. What did he say? Is it coming back to bite him in the ass? And do people really care? We'll talk about that straight ahead. Chad Benson Show.
Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Reddick on second, Gurriel on first. The pitch.
The August 4th, 2017 game in Houston was a blowout.
Goal! 3-run shot by Marwin Gonzalez.
The Astros beat the Blue Jays 16-7 in the last major league game that Toronto relief pitcher Mike Bolsinger would play. He says the batters just seemed to know what pitches he was throwing before he threw them. Now the world knows about the Astros' elaborate sign-stealing system, and Bolsinger has filed suit. He claims his career was damaged by that night on the mound in Houston. Jim Ryan, ABC News.
And the Astros lead is 16-7.
Yeah, he is suing the Astros and wants, in civil court, he wants them to return their winnings. So every player who goes to the playoff gets bonuses. And depending on where you finish, your bonus is bigger. He wants them to forfeit $31 million in bonuses from, as he calls it, their ill-gotten World Series title. And the money will go to charity in Los Angeles, bettering kids' lives. And he also wants to create a fund for retired baseball players who need financial assistance. This thing's not going anywhere. And remember, we've had an off season in baseball where this has been the talk, but off season ends today and tomorrow. Pitchers and catchers report by the end of this week. You'll have more players, and by early next week, everybody's in camp. And this is going to be the talk of a lot of things. And this guy's suing. He thinks he's got a chance. I don't think he does. But Major League Baseball, I want to see what they're doing and how they're going to address this thing, because you can't ignore the fact that you had a team cheat. The reality is you didn't think it was ever going to get out. I mean, you guys know, but did you all think you were going to stay together? Like, was that the thought process? Like, we'll just stay together. We'll never tell. Here's the thing about human beings. They inherently can't keep their mouth shut. Hence the reason why we know that 9/11 wasn't an inside job. Why is that? Because people can't keep their mouth shut. That we landed on the moon. Why? Because we know people can't keep their mouth shut. They just can't. They can't keep their mouth shut. Somebody's going to go, I got to tell somebody. And it's going to get out. And you're going to tell somebody that you think you can trust. And then that person can't keep their mouth shut. So that's why it gets out. That's why it gets out. Inherently, things get out. I don't know, man. I'm telling you, it's crazy. And that's why yesterday baseball came out and says, hey, we got a new idea for the playoffs. They're like, let's change course. We got a great idea for the playoffs, potentially. 14 teams in, 7 on each side. The best record in each league, they get a bye in the first round. Then the 2 division winners get to pick the teams they want to play. Right? And all the home games with the division winners. It'll be awesome. People are like, that's horrible. Well, you got to change with the times, right? Baseball's a bit old. My son can't stand baseball. I always say, Jack, you got a cannon for an arm. We've gone out and played catch. We've gone out and pitched. He thinks it's fun. He's a freak. Great arm for football, great arm for... He's like, baseball sucks, Dad. I hate it. It's boring. I get it. Got to change some things up. So that's what they're trying to do. Anything to stop them from talking about cheating. I said the other day, I think you should make them bet their game checks every game. You'll hustle to first in, won't you? If you got $200,000 on the line. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. So, Bloomberg. I woke up this morning. Bloomberg's trending. So you got the broom challenge trending, and then you've got Bloomberg trending. What? What did Bloomberg do? Well, it's very interesting, old Bloomberg. Bloomberg, of course, used to be the mayor of New York. Bloomberg of Stop and Frisk. Oh. Is it coming back to bite him in the butt? That's what people are asking. And there's a tape of him talking about stuff. All the while he's talking about this, know this, that if you go and look at the reports, the black vote is leaving Biden. And where's it heading? It's heading to Bloomberg.
of your murderers, and murder victims fit one MO. You can just take the description, Xerox it, and pass it out to all the cops. They are male minorities, 15 to 25.
So murder victims and perpetrators, he's looking at, he said you could Xerox it. You could Xerox it. And what do you have? 16 to 25 male minorities.
That's true in New York. It's true in virtually every city. That's where the real crime is. You've got to get the guns out of the hands of the people that get killed. Spend the money, put a lot of cops in the street, put those cops where the crime is, which means in minority neighborhoods.
So you put the cops where the crimes are, right? You put them where the crimes are. That's what you got to do. Male minorities, 16 to 25. Now, we'll touch on this in a second, but he wasn't finished there, and this is where stop and frisk comes in.
Spend the money, put a lot of cops in the street, put those cops where the crime is, which means in minority neighborhoods. So this is one of the unintended consequences is people say, oh my God, you are arresting kids for marijuana that are all minorities. Yes, that's true. Why? Because we put all the cops in the minority neighborhoods. Yes, that's true. Why do we do it? Because that's where all the crime is. And the way you get the guns out of the kids' hands is to throw them against the wall and frisk them.
Racist. Is he really racist? Wasn't done there. A few years ago, he did a interview on WR in New York, and this is getting even more attention now that has popped up about stop and frisk.
They just keep saying, oh, it's a disproportionate percentage of a particular ethnic group. That may be, but it's not a disproportionate percentage of those who witnesses and victims describe as committing the murder. In that case, incidentally, I think we disproportionately stop whites too much and minorities too little.
Oh. I'll tell you why this doesn't hurt him with African Americans. Because when you look at the crime statistics, who are those crimes committed against? And that's... people are going to spin it, he's racist, is all these things. No, because in certain areas that happens to be predominantly minority community, when the crimes are committed, they are what? Usually committed against other minorities. And there's more good than bad. And they're looking around saying, you need to do something about this. You can't have it both ways. You can't say we've got crime in the streets right here, and then when you boost the level of protection for that area, say, well, that's racist. You can't do that. Stop and frisk is gone. He said it was bad. In reality, I think most people thought wasn't the greatest thing to do. I wasn't a huge fan of it, but in saying that, you can't be soft on crime. We're seeing that, right? Well, I want to get rid of the cash bail system. I want to get rid of all of these things. You look at what's happening now. Numbers are up in New York, right? You're going to just turn a blind eye to it? No. Is there a happy medium? There always is a happy medium. Doesn't mean it's going to be uber successful, or doesn't mean it's going to be, the bottom's going to drop out of it. Where is that place where people feel comfortable, right? Without impeding on people's rights, and at the same time, protection. The reason that African Americans, in particular, like Bloomberg, because he did get tough on crime. He was looking at it as like, I'm here to clean up the crime, because the people that are pissed at him are people that are angry all the time, right? And are always looking for somebody to blame, and they see race only in everything that's ever said. The people who usually are the bad people, right? Criminals, doesn't matter what color you are. But the innocent people, their voice isn't as loud. This isn't going to hurt him. This isn't. I think, oh, this is going to destroy. It's not. It's not. It's not. It's not going to destroy him. He'll come out and he'll push his way through this. Everybody knows about stop and frisk. This isn't his grab him by the moment. It isn't. These things have been out there for a while. People have known about. This isn't the shock. And the reason these things are coming out is because he is making noise and it's making people uncomfortable.
New national poll shows that Michael Bloomberg is in third place at 15%. He didn't even campaign here in New Hampshire. Instead, he is spending millions of dollars on ads, building a huge organization with his sights set on those critical Super Tuesday states that are voting early next month. This polling shows that strategy may be working.
Yeah. So Bernie can come out and say, well, this is wrong and he shouldn't be able to do this. And they can all come out and say these things. But the reality is he's kicking butt. He's taking some names. He is making noise. I still think he is going to make enough noise that Bernie may have 1,700 or 1,800 delegates. You need 1,900 plus. I don't think he's going to get that. Right? I just don't. Unless it's an absolute clean sweep on Tuesday. I think Bloomberg is going to take enough away. Buttigieg will take enough away that when they go into the convention, it's going to be brokered. And that has always been his goal. That's always been his goal. That continues to be his goal. And I don't see that slowing down at all. I think he's going to spend the kind of money. And you've got to remember, the establishment is not a huge fan of Bernie Sanders at all. The Democrats look at Bloomberg, and while he has been a Republican and independent and now as a Democrat, they realize he can bring the party closer together. Bernie's people are going to be Bernie's people. Doesn't matter if it is what it is. But if it's about beating Trump and pleasing the establishment, I think they'll think he has a better chance. And even if he comes in third place in delegates, he'll be able to talk his way into, I'll be pro-business, but we'll talk about taxation. We'll talk about how we can help with health care. He'll play the game, and he'll say, Amy Klobuchar, Elizabeth Warren, Kamala Harris. He can bring where Bernie is, he's Bernie, I mean, he does his own thing. For right or wrong, depending on where you are on the aisle. And I think he can talk his way into it. And I think that's what he thinks. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. Man, Sprint stock soars 75% after the judge approved the $26 billion merger with Tmobile. $26 billion and up 75%. That's nuts. Man, that is crazy. So it's up $4. It's only at $8.27, but still, that's a good move. You had some Sprint stock today. You got a smile on your face, that's for sure. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show. I play soccer. I work out. I do a lot of those things on a daily basis. I work a lot, but I like to make sure that I'm always moving. I'm always doing something, and I want to get the best out of my workouts. That's why I use Beat Elite. It's amazing. Gives me a natural edge. I get more out of it. People say, what's Beat Elite? Well, it's from Human, Human, large N. And what it does is it really gives you extra endurance, improves energy and stamina, and increases that oxygen delivery throughout the body. I take 4 ounces of water, pour a little powder in it about 30 minutes before my workout, and away I go. And I feel better. And the last workout I had, by what would normally be the end of my workout, I decided to extend another 15, 20 minutes. I felt amazing. Beat Elite is trusted by hundreds of teams and athletes, elite athletes all over the world. You're going to get top-notch performance. You're going to take your game to the next level. Right now, save 20% off your first purchase. Go to livehuman.com/Chad. It's only for my listeners. Exclusive offer just for you guys. You're going to love it. It's going to give you that extra little oomph. livehuman.com/Chad. livehuman.com/Chad. Chad Benson Show.
No fake outrage here, just the real thing. The Chad Benson Show.
In a sentencing memo, federal prosecutors are asking a judge to sentence Roger Stone to serve between 7 and 9 years in prison. Stone was convicted in November of all 7 counts brought against him by former special counsel Robert Mueller. They include lying to Congress and obstructing the House investigation into whether the Trump campaign coordinated with Russia in the 2016 election. Stone has repeatedly called the case against him politically motivated, but prosecutors say Stone's actions weren't a one-off mistake in judgment.
Yeah, I think he'll probably get 5 to 7 years, and I think 6 months or a year from now, Trump will pardon him because that guy has been loyal, and as we all know, especially, here's the thing, come November, let's just say Trump loses, right? Trump loses, anybody that was associated with him, he's going to wipe it all clean. Roger Stone will walk free, right? Manafort, you know he's going to do it. You know he is. You absolutely know he is. And this guy, of all guys, has been absolutely loyal to him. So I don't think that he is going to let him rot away in jail. That's just me. We've had Roger on the show on a few occasions. He's a character. He's what politics is nowadays, but he's always been that way. He's an interesting dude. And you can't lie to Congress, man. That's just the reality of it. You can't lie to, you played fast and loose, and that's what ended up happening. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Coronavirus, anybody?
We think that in many respects, the spread of the virus is through respiratory droplets, similar to what we see with seasonal influenza, similar to the vast majority of spread of the SARS virus that this has been compared to. But we don't have as much information as we would like. Yeah, we don't. Still out there. What's going on in China is very interesting. They're coming hard. They are coming hard at people, and I don't know if we can believe everything.
Chilling images coming out of Chinese social media. Teams of people in hazmat suits seen dragging a panicked family from their apartment after they reportedly refused to self-quarantine. And this self-described citizen journalist defying the Chinese government to report on the shortages of masks and protective clothing now hasn't been seen or heard from in days. The 34-year-old man had already expressed anxiety over both the virus and the government's ability to silence dissent.
Yeah, don't mess with the Chinese. And I want everybody, this has nothing to do with human life in China. Right? We approach it with, how do we stop this from becoming a pandemic and killing people? They're approaching it from, how do we stop this from spreading and hurting our economy? Wuhan is a ghost town. About 18 to 19 million people when you look at the entire metro area, 11 to 12 million people just in Wuhan alone. And it looks like a movie set, a dystopian, creepy movie set. But it has more to do with the economy than it does human lives. When you're talking about the communist government. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. New Hampshire, they're voting. They're counting. Who will win? Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Amy! Supporters chanted for Amy Klobuchar as she greeted voters at the polls.
I'm telling people that we are all in to the end. It's time for a woman in the White House!
Elizabeth Warren brought her supporters out.
It's just exciting to be out here.
So did Pete Buttigieg in an 11th hour stop with the potential to influence the very latest deciders.
I decided this morning on my drive-in.
Last minute.
Classically.
Can you share who?
I'm a Pete person.
You're a Pete person. You're a Pete person. Thanks, Eric Kateshki. ABC News. Out there in beautiful New Hampshire. Who's going to win? We'll know late tonight, like when all the dust settle. I think this may take a little bit longer for them to come out with the final results just because of the debacle in Iowa. But I'm going to lay it out here for you the way I see it. Bernie pulls away. It's not as close as people think. Buttigieg is second, just above Warren. I think the luster's off of Warren right now, and I think Pete's got some momentum. I think Amy, then Biden. You're looking at fifth place for Joe Biden. He just got off his little, they were showing pictures of him late last night and early today getting off his bus. I told the guys, they're like, what do you think he's going to fall? I'm like, I think the shower. He's going to break his hip. It's not very nice, Chad. But I look at Biden and he's got nothing. I've been saying it. He didn't want to be there. I don't think he wants any of this. I think, like a lot of people, the thought of being president is great. Like, I want to be the president of the United States. I want to be the thought of that is great. The getting to the point where you're president of the United States, it feels like hell. For some younger people, right, like Buttigieg, or older people like Bernie, they're energized because the reality is Bernie is Bernie, right? He's obsessed with this. He is single. He is, Kobe Bryant passed away a couple weeks ago. We were talking about the Mamba mentality where you have this desire, this burning desire to always just be moving in this direction. That's the way he is with politics. Bernie lives and breathes this thing, right? There is nothing else. This is what Bernie Sanders is all about. This is it. Pete Buttigieg? Nah. Right? Like Pete Buttigieg, he's young. It's new. There's a lot of things about, him where people like him, and he comes at it from a totally different way. So he's new. He's driven. He's smart, but he's very analytical. Joe Biden's been at this a long time, right? Joe Biden's been at it a real long time. I think Joe's tired. I think the loss of his son has hit him harder. I think he sold, somebody said, he sold a bill of goods? I think people got in his ear and said, man, you're going to have the money you need. People like you. The Bernie and Warren are going to split their vote there. So you're going to have a clear path. And your road, by the way, there's no traffic jam. Everybody's lurching left. You stay kind of centrist to the left, and you're going to be on a smooth sail. And then, lo and behold, there comes Amy Klobuchar. And here comes the likes of Pete Buttigieg. And they're both energized, and they're young, and and it shows, right? Like Bernie's older, but he's got a burning desire to do this. He's got a Bernie desire. I just don't think Biden's into this. And you finished fifth here since 1972. So 1972. I was one. If you don't finish first or second, you don't get the nomination. The next thing up is the Nevada caucus, right? So that's the next thing up. Nevada caucus, February 22nd. That is next Saturday. Not this Saturday, but next Saturday. How's he doing there? He ain't going to win, right? He isn't going to win. He doesn't have it, right? He just doesn't. And when it comes to caucusing, Bernie's got the edge. Buttigieg has the edge. I was talking to my buddy John Hook from Fox 10 in Phoenix, and he said, I went to a Biden, he's out there, and he goes, I went to a Biden rally. There was 100 people there. It was like, there's thousands of people showing up for Buttigieg, thousands of people showing up for Bernie. There's not the excitement. And people like a winner. Like, there's a reason they call it a bandwagon, and you have to make sure that wagon's big. People are looking around right now, And what they see with Joe Biden is, you don't have it. You don't have it. You don't want to be here. You don't have it. You do not have it. So I'm going to have to put my vote elsewhere. But that also hurts because people are looking around going, Joe, I can't give you any more money, man. I got to put it elsewhere. And I've got to either put it with Pete or I got to put it, with Amy, or I've got to just hold on to it and throw my support behind Bloomberg, who's not asking for any money. There's no enthusiasm. With all of these other candidates, even Yang, who's registering very little, but he's enthusiastic. He feels like he can go the distance. I'm waiting for Joe to tap out. Every time I see him, I'm just waiting for him to go, I've had enough. I've had enough. I do. And it's evident that he's not in this at all.
We've got a mess on our hands here. If you're looking at the Democrats, it is. Is it really a repeat of what the Republicans went through 4 years ago, right in this very moment in this state?
With Joe Biden playing the role of Jeb Bush.
Yeah, because remember, Jeb Bush didn't want to be there. You could tell Jeb Bush, the thought of being something is actually greater than the actual want to be something, right? Like the drive and desire to be something. That's very real. It's like everybody wants to be thin. Nobody wants to go to the gym. Everybody wants to be a doctor or lawyer. Nobody wants to go through what it takes to become a doctor or lawyer. Right? You see somebody, guy's making $200,000 a year. His life looks amazing. He's living the dream. She's living the dream. They got all these things going for it. It's like, I want that. But what do they do to get that? A lot of people, the thought of being president's great. Like Hillary. Hillary wants to be the nominee and she wants to beat Trump. She doesn't want to go through all this rigmarole. She would love to have another bite at the apple, if you will. But she's not going to get it. Like Jeb, you watch Low Energy Jeb. It was true. Jeb didn't want to be there. Biden just doesn't want to do this. The thought of being president sounds, it's like have you ever ordered food and you're like, your eyes were so much bigger than your stomach? It's kind of what this is. And I just don't think he has it in him. I think he finishes fifth tonight. I think he gets blown out in Nevada. I just don't think he has it. And I think people are starting to, this is why the momentum, you can't win in the first week, but you can sure in the hell lose. You can fall so far behind and get off to such a bad start that catching up is going to be impossible. You're trying to sell tickets to a sinking ship. It's not going to work. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. You can text the program as well. Love hearing from every single one of you. AMAC, Association of Mature American Citizens, fastest growing over 50 organization in the country. Just a great organization, good people. Dan Weber, who started it, passed away last week, but what he started continues to live on, and that is just people out there fighting on your behalf for Social Security reform, right? Like Medicare reform, making sure that it's all there, that money's not wasted, and that the money you've put into those things are there for you, that they're solvent. Just a great organization with amazing benefits, retail, restaurant, hotel discounts. I've had so many people tell me, hey, I got this from my mom and dad, or I joined myself, and I had questions about Social Security, Medicare. I called them up. AMAC helped me with all of those. They put me on with professionals and took care of it, and the benefits are great. And the benefits are huge. Right now, you can join for free. It doesn't cost you a cent. You go to amac.us/Chad. You're going to receive your first year free. It's on me, amac.us/Chad. There's no cost, no tricks, no credit card required. Just 1 year free membership for you. Join today. amac.us/Chad or call 888-355-1668. Chad Benson Show.
You go, boy.
This isn't about right or left. This is just about right and wrong.
Right you are, Chad. The Chad Benson Show.
Legislation has been introduced in over 20 other states with more expected to follow, raising concerns of the ability of nationwide organizations to function within a system of differing state laws and provisions.
Yeah, that right there is Jerry Moran, Republican, Kansas. Today, there are hearings going on. Absolutely. It has nothing to do with Russia, the Ukraine, Trump, phone calls, Rudy Giuliani, but it has to do with people testifying about whether or not we should pay athletes in college. Whether or not we should pay athletes in college. States across the country are saying, hey, you know what? California did it. Then a lot of other states have started looking at it, and it's starting to happen. It's coming, whether people like it or not. And I know the argument out there is, well, they already get all of these free things. Really? Yeah, they do. Okay, I get that. But they do a lot. And they can't even do. There's a bunch of other people that go to colleges that, guess what, kids? They get scholarships too. And they can earn money for themselves where these guys and gals can't.
Students are able to monetize their skills in their free time by working, such as music students who teach budding musicians or math majors who tutor high school students.
Yeah. I don't, you're going to get both sides. Like, oh, it's going to hurt the athlete. I don't think it's going to hurt. Remember, we're not asking the college to pay. And I say we, right? Because I think they absolutely should be able to earn money on their likeness, doing their thing. I don't think you have if you have a YouTube channel, right? So let's say you are a kicker, like the kicker a few years ago who was told essentially you dump your YouTube channel or where he was earning money, or you are able to keep your scholarship. You can't have both. It was ridiculous. So let's say you're a college soccer player or a gymnast or whatever it is, and you're great at whatever, juggling, right? You do magic on the streets. People think it's hilarious. You build up a following, get subscribers, you make some money off. You have to abandon that. That is ridiculous.
The changes advocated in many of the state legislative proposals, and likely in some of the national concepts, will benefit a very small percentage of the 450,000 student athletes in our country, and will de facto render a much larger percentage to a lesser status.
Settle down. We know everybody's bread's butter. I don't think somebody on a team is going to feel horrible if the star quarterback, right, gets to go do autograph signing somewhere. I don't think people are going to freak out about that. I don't. Think about this for a second, too. It's about using them across the board as billboards, as walking advertisements, as using their likeness for something that has nothing to do with college. Case in point.
Under Armour is paying UCLA $280 million to require UCLA players to serve as walking billboards to advertise its apparel. Meanwhile, the NCAA denies players third-party compensation, claiming it's to protect players from forces of commercialization.
Yeah, settle down. It's to protect yo ass. Why? Because that is Ramanji Huma, played at UCLA, is now running a nonprofit and the Players Association, the NCAA Players Association. He said something happened with a star linebacker, Donnie Edwards, where he got $150 to buy groceries back in the 90s, and he was suspended for a game. And he thought, this is ridiculous. He goes, these guys are superstars. They're making hundreds of thousands and in many cases millions of dollars for their universities. And they're living below the poverty line. They don't want to let their monopoly go. The game is up. They don't want to let their monopoly go, right? They don't. They like the fact that they have control. They like the fact that they are, whatever they say, they do. I mean, this year you had the NCAA championship game, and out here in Phoenix, the Fiesta Bowl was the site of one of the semifinals, right? And it's not the Tostitos Fiesta Bowl. I think now it's the PlayStation Fiesta Bowl or whatever. And all of them got like $500 in goodie bag, like a goodie bag, $500. Oh, that's great. Yeah. But how much money did they make, the NCAA, off that? How many billions of dollars are they making yearly off a lot of these things? A ton. And it's just, I mean, it's little things that they're going to be able to do now. And it's not just, think about this. If you're a soccer player, right, and you're playing Division I soccer somewhere, well, you may not get a ton of money off this. What if you're able to go out and do certain things now where you can benefit from the skills that you have? Third party, again, not the school paying for the athlete. They use your likeness somewhere, you coach somewhere, you're able to do an appearance somewhere. This is all to do with you and your individual likeness being used on something. You should be able to benefit from that. Because I went to school on a music, math, science, something like that, and I can go out and teach or work somewhere to make money. I think that's totally fine, right? That's absolutely cool. But as an athlete, if you do that, you go somewhere and sign autographs and they want to pay you $5,000 for showing up for the weekend. You can't do that for your signature. Again, the school's not paying for it. They hate the fact that they're going to have to share their money. They hate it. They hate it. They do. They hate it. They love the fact that they have a monopoly over that cash. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson shows your Twitter. The brown shirts. Bernie Bros. What? Talk about it straight ahead. Chad Benson Show.
Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
He was saying, do you think we should have a socialist leading the ticket? And I said correctly, I am friends with Bernie. We came into the Senate together, but I don't think we want a socialist leading the ticket, no. And I was literally the only one that raised my hand and said that. I think I watched, everyone was looking around to see if who was going to raise their hands. I'm like, seriously?
Yeah. No. Amy's making some moves. I'm going to say this. I don't think she has it nationwide. But don't be surprised if she ends up on the ticket, right? Don't be surprised if she ends up somewhere on the she could be vice president. Well, she could be president. She could be, but she's not going to win. I mean, she's not even, remember, she's made really good strides, but her best efforts are putting her in fourth. That's, we'll see what happens after you get out of here and you move to Nevada and you move to South Carolina, where she ends up. But no. We're talking off the air. Is there somebody who can unite us? Here's the person who unites us in the best way possible. Is the person who's not radical, just is, to be honest, kind of boring. Not really controversial. Not reality television. Doesn't evoke a lot of emotion from the right or left. Because what ends up happening is you just kind of get into your day-to-day and, you got to it's a policy wonk. Now, I don't know if that person can be president. I just don't know. Because you have to have a giant online crazy group of people that's going to go out and do stuff for you. You have to have a slogan. You have to be willing to say things. You have to be willing to demonize others. That's the reality of it. Yesterday, I'm sitting there and I'm seeing Chuck Todd is trending. I'm like, is he okay? Something happened to Chuck Todd? Nice guy. Been on his show several occasions. And he's done stuff with me on Fridays here and there. And as far as doing radio and stuff together, good dude. Good dude. And I'm like, well, what happened? Well, of course he's in trouble. Why? Because he read something that somebody else wrote. We'll get to that in a second. But he and Andrea Mitchell were talking yesterday about the perfect example of having that kind of absolute crazed base that is energized and activated and just willing to go for it.
Bernie Sanders has a huge advantage in New Hampshire, which he did so well in 60% 4 years ago. And he's still local. They're enthusiastic, and they will not be denied. And that's the other problem going forward. There is going to be a huge resentment if some huge pool of money goes elsewhere, if Bloomberg makes a move, if Biden collapses, if there's a Stop Bernie movement. That is going to be to hell will pay with the Bernie people because they are so committed.
Yeah, to hell. Absolute to hell will pay. You will pay a price. And that's what happened. So yesterday, it's trending all over. Fire Chuck Todd. Fire Chuck Todd. Why? What did Chuck Todd do? Right? And then I look and say, oh, he's pissed off the Bernie folk.
Hey, I want to bring up something that Jonathan last put in the bulwark today. And Ruth, we've all been on the receiving end of the Bernie online brigade. And here's what he says. He says, no other candidate has anything like this sort of digital brown shirt brigade. I mean, except for Donald Trump. The question no one is asking is this. What if you can't win the presidency without an online mob? What if we now live in a world where having a bullying agro-social media army running around, popping anyone who sticks their head up is either an important ingredient for or a critical marker of success?
Wow.
Yes. He read something that somebody else wrote. He read something that he didn't write it. He just read it. And that's all you need. You just need to read it. And for them to turn on you and to come hard. One of the reasons that Trump is able to say the things he says and get away with it is because he has his own online group that will battle hard. He has his own online group that comes hard for him and protects him. You need that in this day and age. You need that. Is that insane? Fire Chuck Todd over what?
Where Pete Buttigieg was talking about how you can't always have a revolution, and the Bernie supporters there who had great flashing purple signs started chanting Wall Street Pete, Wall Street Pete. This is the makings of an ugly primary season coming ahead of us, and the makings of a potentially really ugly general election campaign.
Yeah, and by the way, to let you guys know, even if you agree with Bernie and they don't like you, they will come for you. So think about that for a second. Even if you agree with Bernie, case in point, a couple weeks ago, Joe Rogan, he endorsed Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders people see Joe Rogan as a alt-right person because he's for free thought, right? He's for free thought. And the reason I like Bernie, he goes, because I felt he's the most genuine person, right? Finds that some of his stuff is crazy, but he's the most genuine person that's out there. That's the reality of what we're dealing with today. Bernie bros are real. They'll come hard for you. They'll tear you apart. It's scary, but so true. In fact, over the weekend, joking around, SNL.
I don't know how or why it happened, but I am king of an army of internet trolls called Bernie Bros. Could I stop them in their tracks? Of course. Should I? Yes. Will I?
So real. It's so real. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. What people are really talking about, right? What people are really talking about aren't this crazy lunacy that's out there. They're talking about real things. Like, hey, medical debt is ridiculous. Hey, how do you get the medical world and the healthcare world under some control as far as spending? How do we deregulate in some areas, do the right thing in other areas without taking away our opportunity to control our health care? and where we're allowed to spend our dollars, and at the same time get it under control. And Bernie's preaching this, and everybody, oh, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do this. When you hear a story like this, I'm like, I get why people feel this way. Here's a couple in Kansas. So there are a couple in Kansas dealing with serious issues that they have. And you hear stuff like this, you go, I get why Bernie is going where he's going, and I get why people are behind him.
Tress and Heather Biggs' son Lane was diagnosed with leukemia when he was 5 years old. At the same time, Heather suffered seizures from Lyme disease.
We had so many multiple health issues in our family at the same time. It put us in a bracket that made insurance unattainable. It would have made no sense. We would have had to have not eaten, not had a home.
Biggs was working 2 jobs, but they fell behind on their bills. Then the unthinkable happened.
You wouldn't think you'd go to jail over a medical bill.
Medical bill jail. Medical bill jail.
Tress Biggs went to jail for failing to appear in court over unpaid medical bills. What was that like?
Scary, scared to death. I'm a country kid. I had to strip down and get hosed and put a jumpsuit on.
Bail was $500.
Mm-hmm.
How much money did you have at that time?
Like maybe 50 to 100.
50 to 100 bucks. He didn't show up. Opportunities, they sent him stuff. He didn't show up, so they came after him and they got him, right? Like a bench warrant. How did this come to be? I mean, think about this, right? This is debtor's prison. This is like archaic stuff.
Attorneys like Michael Hassenplug have built successful businesses representing medical providers to collect debt owed by their neighbors.
I'm just doing my job. They want the money collected, and I'm trying to do my job as best I can by following the law.
That law was put in place at Hassenplug's own recommendation to the local judge. The attorney uses that law by asking the court to direct people with unpaid medical bills to appear in court every 3 months and state they are too poor to pay in what is called a debtor's exam.
A debtor's exam. You got to show up. This is the guy who put it in place. This right here is what people go, oh. I've been saying all along that, and I've talked to several Congress people, and they're like, that's a really good idea. That's an interesting idea. I'm like, why is it so hard? Because there's so many people who have skin in the game, right? They're giving money to this politician or that politician. It happens on both sides of the aisle. This is the stuff that drives people crazy. I've been saying, hey, you know what? Instead of, single payer or Medicare for all, you handle your own insurance. But when you get into a situation where it's a medical absolute emergency, heart attack, cancer, then guess what? The government comes in and takes over at that point in time. Right? Okay. That can be done. That's not hard. Secondly, there should be a different way that they look at medical debt when it comes to your credit. Now, that's debt that is ridiculous. Right? Like if you failed to pay a $50 copay, you're an idiot. Right? That's you're an idiot at that point in time. But at some point in time, you look at this and you're saying to yourself, this is the kind of stuff that Bernie's talking about that resonates with a lot of people.
And how do you get paid?
I get paid on what's collected.
From the bail money?
Well, if the bail money is applied to the judgment, yes, I get a portion of that.
Are you sending them to jail for collection then and not contempt?
No, we're sending them to jail for contempt of court for failure to appear.
Yeah, failure to appear. This is ridiculous.
This raises serious constitutional concerns.
Nusrat Chaudhry is a deputy director at the ACLU.
What's happening here is a jailhouse shakedown for cash.
Tens of thousands of these warrants are issued annually, sometimes to collect as little as $28.
I mean, it wasn't like we were just not paying any of our medical bills. That was the problem. We couldn't afford to pay all of them.
Is jail the answer?
No.
No, it's not. This is why he resonates. It sounds great. And again, it's going to be tough to get through all the stuff. And I don't think Bernie's going to be able to pass a lot of this because there's a lot of people on the Democratic side who don't want what Bernie's offering. But this is the stuff right here that gets people energized for Bernie when they hear stories like that. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show. It's your Twitter. Raycons. Love my Raycons. Last night, just chilling, watch a little bit of my Amazon, right? Amazon Prime. relaxing a little bit. Had my Raycons in. Rain was pouring outside. Couldn't tell because I had my Raycons in. I got the E25s. This is what's great about them. 6 hours of playtime. Bluetooth pairing. The minute I turn on, boom, paired right away. More bass, compact design, great for noise isolating fit. So whether I'm rocking out, relaxing, or taking phone calls, work amazingly. Half the price of all these other competitors out there who are more about style than sound quality. The great thing with Raycon is better sound quality, better style, no stems, no wires dangling about, none of that stuff. You will love these. You're going to become obsessed with them like Cardi B, J.R. Smith, Snoop Dogg. They love them. You'll love them. 15% off right now on top of everything else. How do you do it? Simple. Go to buyraycon.com/Chad. That's buyraycon.com/Chad. Buyraycon.com/Chad. Chad Benson Show.
Experiencing separation anxiety? That's dumb. Check out Chad 24/7 at his website, ChadBensonShow.com, and on iTunes, free. The Chad Benson Show. Never feel lonely again.
Biden's already bounced, heading off to South Carolina, skipping Nevada altogether. He's going to be in South Carolina for the next coming few days. He said, don't worry, I'm not giving up on New Hampshire, but I know I'm not going to win, and I'm probably going to come in fifth, so I better go to a place where I think I have a shot to carry some momentum into Super Tuesday. He's not going to do well in the caucus in Nevada. That just wasn't going to happen. Bernie seems to be winning that handily. Bernie could go into South Carolina 2.5 for 3, because we're not really sure still with Iowa. We won't know anything till tomorrow, right? That could be a surprise. Let me tell you something. If Biden magically ends up third, that's a huge win for him. But I remind you, 72. Since 72, the year of the Lord, 1972. First or second in New Hampshire. Those are the people. There's never been an outlier that end up winning the nomination. Nobody's coming third and done it. Nobody's coming fourth and done it. Nobody's coming fifth and done it. There's two people vying for really the opportunity to be that outlier. Bloomberg, who's not even on it, although he's won. Was it one of the little hamlets, if you will, the little places where they start the voting, where 5 people had to be registered? They almost didn't get it, but somebody rezoned their area and rezoned. They did something and expanded their house and their property, so they got to be part of it. But he got 3 of the 5 votes. The other 2 one went to Buttigieg, one went to Bernie. So, but Bloomberg and Biden are hoping they can be outliers in this situation.
This is Jim Ryan. Imitation meat products are clearly going mainstream, but some consumers still have questions.
What makes it taste like meat? And is that stuff going to catch up to us down the road?
Dietitian Matt Schlachter says most fast food places are using textured vegetable proteins, or TVPs.
Those are highly processed plant components coming together to have this imitation meat product.
Yeah, that's scary, right? That's scary. So you're going to put all this stuff together and have an imitation meat product.
Yes, cruelty-free and kinder to the planet, but nutritionally, the Impossible Burger is not much different from the Whopper.
Yeah. And I like the fact that guy says, what are they going to do to us? We get all excited about some of these things, but we wonder later on, what's the repercussion going to look like? What are the calories like? What is all of this stuff in the hope and prayer to get the thing that tastes like meat so we don't have to eat meat? Are we doing something that, A, you don't eat meat because you want to be better for the planet? And is it better for the planet? And B, you think it's healthier and you find out it's not healthier. We don't know. Like a lot of things that take time. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show. Twitter, MyPillow. I take my MyPillows everywhere. They have the best products around. I love my MyPillow products. They've got towels now. Super absorbent, extra soft. And yes, I take my towels with me everywhere I go because I know that sometimes I stay in hotels that do have decent towels. But a lot of times, some of the hotels and motels I stay in as I travel, they're awful. And I love my MyPillow towels. 5 designer choices, huge, extra soft, no fillers, 100% USA cotton, and a 60-day money-back guarantee. 30 by 56, huge, extra soft towels. 16 by 30 hand towels and washcloths. And why I like the fact that it's 100% USA cotton, there's no cheap filler or softeners. Introductory offer. Go to MyPillow.com, save 30%. Go to the new radio listener special, type in code Benson. MyPillow.com, new radio listener special. Type in code Benson, save 30% right there. At Chad Benson Show, Twitter, ChadBenson. We'll know all the results tomorrow for real, and we'll think about it, and we'll break it all down. Have a great rest of your day. Go eat some tacos, kids! Night-night, Jack.
This is the Chad Benson Show.